Hi, everyone. I'm Summer,
I'm Carrie.
and this is Hopelexia Podcast.
Join us to talk about sex, drugs, and self improvement.
I think it all boils down to this feeling of ownership and this paradigm of we are entitled to own our partner. I mean, that's the underlying premise of monogamy, essentially. And that's it's the whole idea of this whole linear idea of, relationships. You've got your talking stage and your dating and your exclusive and all of that it's all premised on the idea of my goal is to have a partner that I own. Essentially,
Yeah.
it's treating people like property, and it's just so messed up. I don't, and it's not that hard to look at the history of how compulsory monogamy came about. It was never monogamy for everybody. It was women, because the women were property in patriarchal societies. This didn't apply to non-patriarchal societies. A lot of them didn't have monogamy. The men could do whatever they wanted, but the women had to be monogamous. And so in the last few decades, and literally it's only been decades, we've supposedly tried to shift to make things more equal, but instead of saying, oh, this is a messed up system, we shouldn't be treating people as property, now we've switched it to, no, the men are just as much property as we are. And so now, no.
Why do people have to be property? I don't.
Exactly.
Why can't people just be people?
Right. And I started exploring the idea of first I kind of came in the side door here, right, with looking at polyamory and how all that works, until I finally eventually deconstructed purity culture in my head to the point where I just call myself non-monogamous now, because even if I only have one partner, I still am not monogamous. I don't believe anyone has that. I don't own my partner and they don't own me. So we don't own each other's bodies. We don't have the right to put that restriction on each other.
Right.
And even beyond that, why wouldn't I want, if I love my partner and I care about them, why wouldn't I want them to be able to explore and have all the fulfilling relationships that they can have? And why wouldn't I? They're not my property. They're a person.
I think it gets I don't know the right word for it, but there's non-monogamy where it's one penis non-monogamy, where you can have other relationships, but they can only be with women, because
Yeah,
they're
and I don't
competition to me, and I'm
yeah, and I don't think that's ethical.
Weird.
I don't think there's an ethical way to have a right of veto, which is what a lot of people call it, where it's you have to clear with me who you're going to be with and I have the right to say no. I don't think there's an ethical way to do that. I don't think it's, my first poly relationship was with a couple, and initially it was with both of them. Then he got jealous about us. Me and her couldn't see each other without him, or we could spend time together, but we couldn't be sexual with each other without him, because he got jealous about that. And then she also wanted to know every time that he was with me and what we were doing. So it was that's a toxic model. I don't believe that there is an ethical way to say, no, you have to tell me everything, because then it's still being rooted in jealousy and in wanting to have that control. So it's still treating people in this unhealthy way. So I don't believe that that's, and I have noticed when I meet somebody new, or I'm talking to somebody, this is a very quick way to filter out these toxic people, and especially patriarchal men. Because when I tell them I am non-monogamous, I don't, I'm not going to put restrictions on you on who you can have relationships with, and you're not going to do that to me either. And patriarchal men will freak the fuck out. And so it's very quickly I can get rid of them. Now there is the one who we talked about a while back, who was the who was one of those podcast listeners. He did slip by that one, because he tried to pretend he was okay with that for a long time, but eventually it came out. But
yeah, my first dabble in that was with a couple also, but she didn't want anything to like do with me, so she just kind of pretended I wasn't there. And so she like, I would like go see him and she would be like at work or whatever, and then she didn't want to like know anything about like what we did, and she didn't want to know like me or anything. She knew who I was and like that I was there, but she didn't want anything to do with me. And I was like, that's fine, like you don't have to, it's whatever. And then she started wanting to like hang out and like get to know me, because he would talk to her like about me and just say like, oh yeah, like we had fun, like this is just like what we did today. And then she wanted to like get to know me, and so we started hanging out like together with him. And then it was just like the point where I was like spending the night with both of them or whatever. It was never sexual with her, which is fine. And then it got to the point where like she was super jealous about it, and then he started being weird with me, and then it made me feel insecure, and so I was like, I'm gonna dip, I don't want to do this anymore.
Right, like this isn't,
And then like 3 months after I left, she was like, she messaged me out of the blue and was like, I just want you to know that I think you're right, and saying like he was toxic and like all this stuff, and I'm leaving him. And I was like, oh, cool, that wasn't my intention, I'm so sorry, but not sorry at the same time, because like I'm glad you're not like around the toxicity, but at the same time like I didn't mean to, so I'm
right,
sorry
that
that
wasn't
you're
intentional.
sad, but
Right.
I'm not sorry that you're out. So,
Yeah.
and then I haven't tried it again since then, because that was a lot mentally, but
Well, you haven't tried a formal
yeah,
structure like that, but you've been non-monogamous with other people.
I mean,
Because see, here's the thing. Here's what I find hilarious: that monogamists usually just call what we do being single.
mm-hmm.
Like the person that is my regular partner has been there for 12 years.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's. But if you're not putting those restrictions on each other, then they don't recognize it as a legitimate relationship.
That's
because because Christian patriarchy fucked up the world.
Yeah, still working on that in my head.
It's a process and it's hard.
It's so hard, like probably the hardest thing like I'll ever do, like trying to get that out of my head, but we're getting there, you know.
That's good. I think it's good because it helps you to live. I've never been happier than once I finally got that out of there. Now it took a lot, and it was at certain points absolutely terrifying, because it's like when you're raised in it, right? Like that's your entire worldview. And so once you start questioning and you pull the string and you start unraveling, everything unravels, because it's literally. I honestly don't understand these people who deconstruct and then decide to stay in the church, because I'm like, there's got to be a whole lot of cognitive dissonance there, because it really is built on a very, very shaky foundation to begin with. And once you start actually critically examining, it all implodes. So but yeah, once that happened and I started realizing how all of those things, how that indoctrination affected and influenced everything, my relationships, and I don't mean just romantic relationships, but friendships and relationships everywhere, then it really just completely, my entire life and how I conduct myself evolved.
I was talking to somebody about that yesterday, actually, like, because he grew up atheist, like, completely, like, his family was not religious, like, at all, and so he just grew up that way, and so, like, me talking to him about, like, how I grew up, he's just like, what the fuck, and I'm also like, what the fuck, like, looking back on it, and he was like, it's just so wild to me how, like, when you talk to these people, like, you'll say, like, well, a lot of the Nazis were Christians and like believed in God, but they still murdered like 6 million Jewish people on top of like all of the other people that they've murdered. Like even people that we don't know about, like black people, disabled people, gay people, like every kind of people that's not them, you know? And he was like, it's just wild. Like, you bring that up to Christians, and they'll say, like, well, God will forgive them for that because they love him and, like, he saved them. Or I was like, what? Are you sure? Because that's a lot of murder and, like, hate criming and terrible things to do to people, and he forgives that. And he was like, yeah, like, I've talked to people, and they actually, like, think that. And I was like, same. Like, I grew up around people that think that way. Like, so many people, including like family members, believe that way. But as soon as you're like talking to them about like a trans person that like goes to church, believes in God, and like does all this stuff, but like they're trans, automatically God hates them, can't forgive them. He's gonna throw them in a pit of fire, like just for being trans. Like I don't see how that works. But okay.
You know, logic has no place here.
Absolutely no logic. Like, it also blows my mind because people believe like the Jewish people were God's chosen people, but then will like forgive Hitler for murdering 6 million of them just for being Jewish. I don't understand. It is insane to me. Like
You
insane.
can't. Yeah, you can't reason out irrational behavior.
It's crazy. Like one of our friends sent us like a picture that they took of like it was like a bag of corn or something, and it had like a little card in there that was talking about all these corporations owned by like Jewish people or
Yeah,
whatever,
it
and
was
saying like,
one of those like conspiracy theory flyers of. Let me see
and
if
I
I
was
can.
like, I was like, I can guarantee you like a Christian person made that and is trying to spread like Jewish hate. And I'm like, do you guys know like in Christianity, like other people think that Jewish people are God's chosen people? Like, why do you hate them so much? Like, what do they do? Absolutely nothing, most likely. Like, unless they did something to you as an individual, but that's still not a reason to hate a whole group of people. Like, oh. I just don't understand.
Yeah,
I don't understand any of it.
just be glad we're out of the cult. That's all.
We can start our own. One that isn't, you know, like into murdering people and hating people. We can start a cult that's like, I like plants and chocolate cake.
It's my entire life right there.
Same.
Yes. Well, come worship in the woods with me.
Literally, please.
We'll sit around a fire and.
I just want to build a little cottage in the middle of the forest and have a bunch of like animals and just live my life.
See, we need to just get some more money together and start buying this land that's adjacent to mine, and then you guys can all just put your little cottages out in the woods, and we can just have little paths to each other's houses.
Oh, we could have little stone paths and put those little tiny fairy lights everywhere.
Yes,
That are
that'll be
like solar
great.
powered, so they just light up.
That'd be great.
So cute.
I'm starting to put in my little raised bed so I can start growing food out here, and it'll be great. We'll have our own little. This is the plan. This is what we're working on.
I just wish the world that everybody wanted stuff like that.
Would be better. Would be much better.
Like, I just want to. My phone is dinging. I just want to like live in a world where people just want to live in like a house with like free healthcare and everybody just like chills. Like, just lives their lives, you know?
We're not allowed to do that under capitalism.
I know.
I have many things I want to say right now, but the FBI will be at my door tomorrow if I say them out loud. So I'm gonna.
Let's avoid that.
Yeah,
I don't want that to happen to you.
I don't either. So just know if I disappear, it was not voluntary.
I mean, same, honestly.
It's a real concern.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
Everything is fine. The whole world is on fire, but it's fine.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And to be sure you never miss an upload, make sure you turn your notifications on. And please come join us on social media so we can continue these conversations in between episodes. You'll find us at Hypoxia Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.